I take requests too, so if you guys have any requests for anything I've written, there's only a handful of us. I'm flexible. I keep going out here if you guys want.
I walked in late, but have you done anything out of Monster Hunter Alpha?
No, but I can. I've never read from Monster Hunter Alpha actually. Before, I mean, I've read it, but. Yeah. All right. You tell you what. Let me see. Let me find a good spot. Oh wait a minute. Is Joe Buckley going to be here at this con? No.
I killed him already though, but that's always a good choice.
Because one of my goals, right, when I didn't know about Joe Buckley, I met him at LibertyCon last year, and I didn't know about the history of killing Joe Buckley in Bay and Books until I learned about it last year. And so then I was like, at the time I was writing Monster Hunter Alpha, and I said, you know what, I'm going to kill Joe Buckley too. But I wanted to up the ante because Joe Buckley had been killed so many times. So I decided to kill Joe Buckley on page 1, and then I killed him twice more in the book. So I killed him 3 times. So I managed to kill Joe 3 times and kill him in the intro. So here we go. This is exceedingly unedited. Okay. This is from Monster Hunter Alpha. You guys read Monster Hunter? Okay. So the third book in the Monster Hunter series is about Earl Harbinger. So it's not an Owen book. It's about Earl. Have you read it, Gray? Have you gotten to read it?
No.
Okay. It's cool because it almost all of the book takes place in one night. And it's a lot of people thought for whatever reason this because it was about Earl there was a prologue or was a prequel. It's not. There are. Each chapter starts with something from Earl's journal that kind of goes back in time, explains where he came from. Second half of the book, the intros come from when he was in Vietnam. It goes through, and but most of the events happen in this small town in northern Michigan in one night. Let's see. So I want to read the intro here. Like I said, I've never read from Alpha before. I'm trying to think of a good spot. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read the first. I'm going to go ahead and read the first couple pages here. Okay. Part 1, The Monster. Deputy Joe Buckley never got a good look at the creature that tore his guts out. One minute he was minding his own business, and the next he was being pulled through the patrol car's windshield by his face. Dispatch had sent him up the 26 to Cliff Road, which is the tail end of nowhere, through the forest, up the hills, and into the rain, because Nancy Randall had called 911 to report that something was scaring her horses. Usually nothing interesting ever happened on the night shift, but they were actually hopping tonight. Since Nancy was on the county council, she had become the priority call of the evening. Last week's high point had been chasing some cows back through a broken fence, so Buckley would take whatever action he could get. Oh man, and I've got to change my settings here because I'm hitting down and jumping like whole pages. Okay. Nancy had answered the door with a gun. Though having a reputation for being level-headed, it was apparent that something had unnerved her. The story spilled out before he could even ask for it. She had been woken up by a strange sound from behind her barn. At first she had thought the sounds were from somebody crying out for help, so she'd gone to investigate, but had turned around when she heard the growling. Got her rifle, herded her kids into the back room, and called the police. What kind of growling? The scary kind. Nancy then scolded him about the long response time. Buckley didn't know what she'd expected, since there wasn't anything out this way except for abandoned mines, a lot of trees, and some secluded farms. But Nancy was an integral part of the Copper County budget process, so the sheriff had previously warned him not to provoke her. Buckley had bid her a good night and gone to work, expecting to find evidence of either a raccoon or petty thievery. Surprisingly, the horses actually were freaked out about something, snorting and kicking at their gates. Their genuine fear was a surprise and got Buckley to thinking that maybe Nancy Randall wasn't completely wrong for being concerned. He did a sweep of the property. It was too dark and wet to spot any tracks, and none of the farm equipment looked like it had been disturbed. After wandering fruitlessly around the barn in the dark with his flashlight, poking around, tripping over things, and getting generally soaked and frozen in the rain, Buckley called it a night. He returned to his Crown Vic to crank up the heater and drink the rest of his coffee before it got cold. There had been no snow yet, but this was northern Michigan, which meant that when it came, it was going to be extra nasty. Moisture fogged the windows solid within seconds. Turning on the defroster and jamming his hands deep into his pockets, he decided to wait until his teeth quit chattering before calling in. Deputy Buckley didn't get a chance to follow that train of thought to conclusion as the Crown Vic suddenly lurched on its shocks. He looked up with the windows fogged and he was blind to the outside world. Puzzled, his initial suspicion was that somebody was screwing with him. But then there was a thud as something big struck the hood. Screech! The sound sent an involuntary shiver running down his spine. Something had just scratched the hell out of his paint. He reached for the door handle. Son of a... The windshield ruptured, pelting him with safety glass. Black limbs shot through the hole. Buckley yelped in surprise as black fur engulfed his face. Stunned, he tried to jerk the door open but was torn away and pulled against the steering wheel. His hands were swatted aside as long claws flailed, tearing him open. Blood struck the dash as nails sliced through his scalp. Paws clamped down on both sides of his head and squeezed until his skull cracked. He was dragged thrashing through the glass, down the hood, and hurled into the cold mud. The claws released Buckley and Buckley shoved desperately against the mass of heat and hair, splashing and rolling in the mud. He ended up on his back. The thing towered above him in the headlights, and Buckley knew he was going to die. Terrified, he struggled to get his gun from its retention holster as blood poured down his throat. The animal seemed to smile 6 inches of razors as the Beretta came out in slow motion. The pistol disappeared into the night as a claw laid Buckley's arm open from elbow to palm. Then the animal was on him, and Buckley watched in shocked disbelief as it drove its long snout to the bottom edge of his Kevlar vest and bit deep into his abdomen. Fire lanced through him as the animal wrenched its head back and forth. That's enough. The animal tore its bloody head free, and something red dangling from its teeth. In shock, Buckley stretched out both pieces of his hand, and as if to ask for that bit of himself back, but the creature was already retreating out of the headlights. He tried to speak, but all he could do was cough on the blood in his mouth. He felt as cold as the puddle he was squished into. A figure walked into the light. He was saved. Someone had chased off the animal. The man would call for help. He just needed to hang in there. This man didn't seem upset. He didn't call for help. He didn't tell Buckley to stay calm. Instead, he just squatted next to him in the mud. His features were obscured by the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat, but somehow his eyes were visible, glowing like molten gold. The stranger studied the giant hole in Buckley's stomach and frowned. He made a tisk-tisk noise, and behind him the animal let out a mournful howl. Buckley had lost too much blood to be afraid. He was just very cold. The man plucked the golden name tag from the shredded uniform shirt and studied it. "My apologies, Deputy Buckley," the stranger said. He tossed the name tag into the puddle with a little plop. "I doubt you're going to make it. The pack could have used you. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that doesn't happen very often. For now, I'll leave you to the Volkodlak." The stranger rose, adjusted his overcoat, and walked from Deputy Buckley's darkening vision. So, that was a prologue.
You're nice.
Okay. That's okay. Joe comes back later.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Zombie Joe.
Well, no, even better than that. But like I said, I killed Joe 3 times.
When it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
Spoiler alert. And then each chapter starts with something from Earl's journal. So this is the first entry from Earl. So chapter 1. I've been shot 153 times. Stabbed, cut, bit so many times I've lost count. I've been blown up, electrocuted, frozen, buried alive, set on fire, and was once hit by a train. I fought in both world wars and a few others. I've killed men in all but 2 continents. I've killed monsters on all of them. Other dimensions, twice. I guess you can say I get around. Husband, father, grandfather, and now great-grandfather. I've seen whole generations come and go. I've loved, protected, and watched over my family, the Shacklefords, for decades. With a couple of notable exceptions, most of them have turned out pretty good. Which is important, because in the grand scheme of things, the Shacklefords are a very special bunch. This particular journal is not about them. I run Monster Hunter International, the best outfit in the business. You work for MHI for very long, and you'll see some things. I've run into some of the weirdest beings in God's creation and killed a whole mess of them. You wouldn't believe the shit I fought. There are a lot of innocent folks alive right now, only because one of my hunters stepped up and did what had to be done. The bravest men there have ever been looked to me and called me their leader, and that's a humbling thing. But this journal ain't about them either. I've already written these things down. Now I need to focus on the hard part. This is the 3rd journal I've attempted to write. If you're reading these words, then I can only assume that you know the truth about me. This book is about things I'd rather not share, things I'd rather have forgotten. But no one lives forever. I'm hoping that some of the things I've learned might help after I'm gone. A wise man once told me that we're no smarter than the hunters that came before us. The only reason we've got a clue is because those guys bothered to write stuff down. So here goes. I'm a werewolf. got no idea how remarkably hard that was to write. I stare at those words and want to tear the page out and burn the evidence. We tend to be a secretive bunch. See, I bear a curse. You learn to deal with it or it deals with you. Crying about it won't change a thing. Embracing it will destroy you. I've stared into the face of evil and I've been the face of evil. I've done some bad things in my life. Good thing I've lived a long time because I'm still trying to even that score. Some folks would call it penance. I call it my job. I'm a hunter. I'm a monster. I was born Raymond Earl Shackelford Jr., son of the greatest hunter who ever lived in the year 1900. I've held many names since. Today they call me Harbinger. So,
Nice.
so yeah, that's
Yeah.
so. Monster Hunter Alpha is my Earl book. Yeah, that was a fun time.
Do we get to see Tanya and Edward at all again?
No, yes, but not in Alpha. They will be back in Monster Hunter Legion. Yeah, the Tanya. I gotta talk to Mystic. I want to make a team Edward shirt that with Edward the Orc.
Oh,
Just with his goggles and maybe like an axe.
They get to the cross swords, right?
Oh yeah. Ed is all sharp and pointy things.
I like that, Team Edward.
Yeah, so that's my team Edward. Well, because Mystic wanted to do a team. She wanted to do a team Owen.
Yeah, I'd go for Team Owen.
So yeah, that was fun. So that's about our time.
Or
So,
Team Bubba.
Team Bubba. Oh yeah, Team Bubba is awesome.